Okay, so we're talking the Schlieffen Plan at this point here, and certainly you can Google this and find some interesting videos on this in greater detail. But so here we're looking at, just to give us some context here. Here is Germany. This red line here. This is their border. You can see Germany does share a border with a number of countries. The Netherlands here, Belgium here, Luxembourg here, and then this long piece is the border they share with France. Now, Germany is gambling here a little bit, and they're gambling on this, the time it's going to take Russia to mobilize. They have speculated that it could take Russia, anywhere from 2 months to longer to actually be ready to fight a war on the Eastern Front. So what Germany is hoping that will happen is this under the Schlieffen Plan. They're essentially going to turn their back on Russia and dedicate the full force of their military here on France. And the hope is that they can bring about a quick defeat of France, and then so within that span of 2 months or so, and then swing back across Germany and then take on Russia when they would be fully mobilized and ready. This way they would, even though they are going to war with two countries, they essentially take them on one at a time. Now, there's more to this Schlieffen Plan here, as we can see. So if you notice, it might make most sense if you're thinking, Germany should invade here. If you want to get into France, go across this shared border because that's the closest crossing point between these two places. But that's not what's going to happen, because France, and the history between France and Germany is not a good one. These two countries have had a war together. I mentioned the Franco-Prussian War, 44 years prior to World War I. So as a result of that here, France has established a line of fortress towns, all right? So in fact, this is actually fairly well defended, this border. And Germany, of course, knows this, right? So what is the plan here that Schlieffen's devised? Well, if we have to bring about a quick defeat, the simple solution, according to Schlieffen's idea, is don't go here. We're going to go through these neighboring countries here, neutral, Netherlands and Belgium, and we're going to come across through the north, and they called this a pincer-like attack, sort of like a claw, and they're going to scrape around Paris, and thinking that, we can catch the French off guard, and strangle Paris here, the capital of the country, and then sweep in from behind and take on these fortress towns from behind. Now, that's actually pretty clever, because if you've ever looked at a fort, at least most forts, most of the defense of a fort is sort of one-sided, right? So it's undoubted that these forts or fortress towns here have the bulk of their defense facing Germany. They're not likely well defended from in behind, right? That's where they would be bringing their men in and their supplies. So if the German plan here is to come at these forts from behind, they're actually going to be taking them on where they're weakest. So far, plan sounds pretty good, right? And just to further things here, they are going to actually wage an attack here, a lighter attack on these fortress towns, with the hope of keeping some French troops present here. We want this sort of pincer movement here to be as unobstructed as possible. Keep those French soldiers in place here, and then we'll come in and wipe them out from in behind. Now you're looking at this, you're saying, okay, Schlieffen guy, pretty clever. Sounds like a good plan to me. Well, like all plans, there are always wrinkles. And what's the big wrinkle that we see here? Well, you've already questioned, well, what about the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg? Are these countries just going to allow Germany to march its army in full force through them? Well, you might be saying, well, they might not have much choice. Well, that might depend. What about Britain over here? What are the odds that Britain and Belgium have some sort of relationship in place? Well, pretty good. Right? In fact, they have an agreement that's long before this war called the Belgian Neutrality Act that they struck, which essentially was a plea from Belgium to say to Britain, listen, we'll remain neutral to you, friendly to your country, of no threat, if you agree to enforce or protect our neutrality. And because of this neutrality agreement, Britain promising to sort of defend Belgium if they were threatened, once Germany threatens to go through Belgium, England's going to say, we're in now.